Thank you for joining us today for introducing the PM Toolkit webinar. My name is Amber Merritt and I'm a Business Development Representative here at KES. We are excited to welcome everyone and happy to see such a great mix of existing KES clients as well as many people who are new to KES. Okay, let's go ahead and get this started. I would like to turn this over to Glenn Hoffman, our Managing Director, to get things rolling.
Thank you, Amber, and let me also welcome everyone as well. We're very excited today to be doing the official launch of our latest NetSuite extension, our PM Toolkit. We're excited to have everyone join as we can take you through this today. All right, to get things started, let's just jump in. For those of you that maybe are not familiar with Craft Enterprise Systems, just a little bit about us. We're a NetSuite solution provider. We've been doing this for a long time, both deploying and supporting NetSuite, but also developing a number of our NetSuite extensions. The big thing we like to talk about us that we think differentiates us is really this whole idea around partnership. And so not only do we help deploy and support NetSuite and give our products out there, but we're really here to work closely with you and make sure that our solutions work really well for you, not just today, but for the long term. All right, let's just jump in. And when we talk about NetSuite extensions, what are these? Well, basically, these are product solutions that have been built on top of NetSuite. So anytime when we talk about our KES NetSuite extensions, we're not talking about something that sits outside the system that has to integrate or anything. It is sitting inside of NetSuite, leveraging your NetSuite instance. So, we don't have to have a separate database. We're using your data. We try to leverage all of the NetSuite functionality that already exists. So we're not trying to replace anything in NetSuite. We're just trying to take what NetSuite does and do it a little bit better, add some more stuff to it. The nice thing with our extensions, they're all updated, tested with each new release. So the nice thing with that is, you can be sure that as NetSuite does their twice-a-year releases, our products will continue to work without issue. But also, we add new functionality with each release. We add new features, we take an existing feature, give it a little more capabilities, so you're constantly getting more value with our products. And so the way we kind of look at this, they can be a really cost-effective way to get some new functionality added to your NetSuite environment very quickly and make sure that those are supported ongoing things rather than expensive custom solutions that need to be reviewed constantly because they may quit working with different releases. We're big into NetSuite extensions with our PM Toolkit today. This will be our 8th extension that we've built out. Our first one was released in 2017, and we've been releasing them ongoing. You can learn more about all of our extensions out on our website, craftenterprise.com. Just check it out, see if any of these might be interesting. But for today, we are really focusing on, or just focusing on, our PM Toolkit. So just a little background on what brought the PM Toolkit into existence. At KES, we're all about NetSuite. We are a 100% NetSuite focused company, and that means for internal uses as well. So internally, we use NetSuite Project Management for our professional services team. And it's also nice that we have NetSuite development team. So as we're using this, we found things that we wanted to add, right? Hey, we like NetSuite Project Management, but I wish it did this. And we had our development team go ahead and add those features. And they started adding up. And as we worked with our clients who use NetSuite Project Management, they would ask similar things that we had added, and we would sometimes go add those as custom solutions for them or whatever else. And this year we finally said, you know what, let's go ahead and bundle these up. Let's put them into a project management toolkit, and let's make it available for all NetSuite customers. So that's what the background. The features that you're going to see today, most of them are tried and true. We've been using them internally for a long time, and like I said, we've now just productized them and put them in a bundle. So I'm going to talk about the features, and then we'll switch over and demo all these features. So just to kind of set the stage a little bit on these. The delegate time approver. The idea around this is people take vacations, and you want to still have time being approved. So we'll show you how our delegate time approver works so that as supervisors, time approvers go on vacation, somebody else can do the approvals while they're out, type of thing. Update billing rates. We found that, maybe over time, a contract, the rates change, or maybe you set up a whole project with a bunch of resource assignments, then realize you set up the wrong rates. And it was a real pain to have to manually go through all those tasks and task assignments and update them. So we'll show you how now we can quickly do rate updates with a couple clicks. Project assignment and resource assignment. When we hired new staff, we had a bunch of internal support projects. We wanted to be able to quickly assign that new staff to a bunch of projects. So we added that. Similarly, when we sold a new project and we set up a new project with a project template, we wanted to quickly be able to assign a group of resources to that project. So I'll show you how project assignment and resource assignment makes those things very easy. For those of you that are using Project RevRec and using project percent complete for RevRec, often people don't use the NetSuite calculations for percent complete. Maybe they're using an external PSA and just bringing in results, or maybe even within the system they don't use the calculations NetSuite does. There's a percent complete override with NetSuite project management, but there's no direct way to import into that, so you had to manually update project percent complete each month for all your projects. Very tedious. We've got a way to import those percent complete. So now you can quickly run a search to export all your active projects, update your percent complete for the month, and import it in for those that are using that RevRec. We've added a number of saved searches that I like to use each month as I'm managing our internal time entry and billing. So we threw a bunch of those in. I think you'll like some of those. We took the built-in utilization report and just modified it slightly to give it a few more features that we find useful, so we'll show you that. That's included as well. You can learn more about all these out on our website, but that's an overview of what we're going to show today. All right, so enough of me talking. You're here to see this product, so let's go ahead and dive in and show this product. So here I am out in a demo environment of ours. And so let's take you through it. We said this is something built on top of NetSuite, and it is just a bundle that we install. So once you decide to go with the PM Toolkit, we will install our PM Toolkit bundle for you. When that gets installed, we add a number of things, but the most important thing to start with is our setup screen, our configuration screen. In the configuration screen is where you can say which of the features you want to enable in your account. Maybe you don't want to be able to do some of these things. I have a feeling most people will enable most, if not all of them. But this is where you enable those. We do have some things driven by saved searches to allow you to personalize, and I'll talk about these and how they work as we go through the individual features. Same with this, I'll talk about that. We do have a permission screen. This is for project assignment and resource assignment. You can decide who should have the ability to do that, so you can set the roles that can do that. And then we, of course, keep track of the full history as changes are made, so you can see who updated the system configuration. All right, so setup is pretty straightforward. It's the nice thing. Those of you that are used to or have seen our other extensions, you know that we try to make the setup really easy. We try to make it easy for you to personalize using your own saved searches, that type of thing, so that you can get it up and running very quickly and start getting value from this right away. All right, so let's jump in. Let's show our very first feature. The first thing I want to show is how to update billing rates and make that super easy. All right, so let's take a project. We'll go with this My Test project, and we'll take a look at how it's currently set up. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into edit mode on this. And if we take a look down on this, it has a couple of tasks. If I pull up one of those tasks, take a look at the project task assignments, I can see that the rate that is on this is $180. All right. And if I pull up the other one, let's just take a look at what that is as well. Just to show that, that is also $180. All right. So let's say that we learn that this should now be $190. Maybe we set it up wrong. Maybe there was a change, some type of change order on this. But whatever case, we want to quickly update everything on this project to a new rate. Let's say $190. We come over to our PM Toolkit. We have a project billing rate field that we've added. It's set now to 180. I can update this to 190 instead. Come back to my schedule, click on my update billing rates. We will then go ahead, scroll through or run through all of the tasks and task assignments and update the rates. So if I now pull this up and take a look, I can see that we've updated that rate to 190. So update one field, hit one button. If I have 50 tasks with 10 assignments under each, boom, they're all updated to the new rate. All right, so we try to make that nice and easy. Now, that's doing it at the project header. I will also mention that you can have line rate overrides. So rather than setting it just at the header, I can set it down at the line item. So maybe you have different tasks that have different rates. If I come down to this line item, CR 190, for this task, I can say, actually, I want this task to be $210 an hour. I'll come back to my assignees, hit my update billing rate, and now I'll come over and the rate's been updated just for this task. All right. I will mention that if you have a task override rate, when you do the update at the project level, at that header level, we will not update that line because you've put a task override just for that line. Right. So that's our first feature. Update billing rates makes life nice and easy for you to be able to keep those rates up to date. All right, next, let's jump into our what we call easy project assignment. Now, easy project assignment is typically for when you hire a new resource and you want to assign them to one or many projects. So let's go over to our relationships and scroll down. You can see we've added easy project assignment. I'll pull that up. All right. I can go ahead and pick any person I want. And here I can go ahead and assign them to individual projects or this thing called all. Now, what is all? Well, all is controlled by the search that's in our PM Toolkit setup. If I come back to our configuration, here's our assignment search. So you can create your own search if you want. All right. So all might be, rather than showing all projects, let me show you what the default out of the box one is. We basically pick, all we do with the out of the box is just say include all active projects. All right. So I think you'll see here when this comes up that all it does is say project is not inactive. All right. But let's say, for example, you've got a bunch of support projects or maybe a bunch of internal projects or anything like that. You could put a filter to say, type is whatever if you've added a certain field to identify those. Or maybe you just want to add a checkbox that says include in default or new resource assignment, right? And so that way you can control what projects are included so that when you say all, it will just assign to those projects that you included in that search, all right? The reason we did that is we said maybe you don't want to assign them to all your, implementation projects or that type of thing. Or maybe you just want to assign them to just some internal projects in that. That's it. So you can assign to one or assign to the all search that you control. You can also say what service item to use when you're doing assignments, or I will also say that to make this even easier, on the employee as part of our PM Toolkit, we have added a custom field called default service item. We'll get to that. It should pull up in a second here. But on the employee record, having that default service item set, you don't have to pick a service item over here. If this is blank, we will use the service item that has been set on the employee. So here I said default service item. All right. So we internally have this set as a required field for any project resources. So that way I know that when employees are set up, their default service item has been set up on their employee record, so I never need to pick an item here. All right, so then I can go ahead and do this. I can submit it. Once I submit that, since there may be hundreds of projects, we do it in the background, and we say you'll get an email once it's done. So I'll show you once I get that email, that'll come up eventually that it was completed. But now Joe Technician has been assigned to all of our projects, all right? So that's the idea around project assignment. Go ahead and add a new resource and take that resource and assign it to a group of projects. All right. Conversely, we have something called resource assignment. All right. Now this is kind of the opposite thing. With resource assignment, let's say you just sold a new project or you set up a new project and now you want to assign a bunch of resources to it. So here's a project we've set up. If I were to go ahead and take a look at that project just so you can see, let's open that in another screen. If we take a look at it, it's just a basic project we set up, but you'll see that it has no resource assignments. If I pull up either of these two tasks, we'll see nobody's been assigned to them. All right. So you've sold a new deal, you set up a new project, now you want to assign people to it. You can come into here, you can pick an individual task if you want to just assign to that. So that works sometime. Maybe you have an existing project, but you added a new work auth or something as a new task. You can just come in and pick that particular task to do assignments to, or leave it blank and assign to all. You can then also pick a resource to assign it, and you can pick individuals or you can pick groups. So you can set up groups that you want to use for assignment. All right. So I have set up a group called consulting team. And you can make this a dynamic group or a static group, anything you want, but I've added 6 people to this group. And so that way, maybe you have, certain different types of consulting teams. You have a NetSuite team, you have a development team, whatever groups you want to set up, then you can go ahead and pick them from this drop-down list. I can assign a specific service item, or as just with our other screen, I can leave this blank and we will use the service item off the employee. So really when I set this up, all I need to do is pick the project, pick the resource, and submit. This will go ahead and find that project, loop through all the tasks, look at this resource, in this case, this group, and go ahead and assign them to all. We'll let it run for a second here. It should finish up, and we'll take a look at that project. All right, resources added. Let's come back and refresh our project screen. And now if I come down here and take a look at our task, I'll see that we've now got all our resources assigned to that task. We've got their service items from their employee records. We're all set to go. So when we sell a new project internally, I just need to set up the project. I can then go ahead, come into that resource assignment screen, pick my project, pick the group that I want to assign, and boom, everybody's assigned and away I go. One thing I should mention on this, I think I forgot to mention this, is that as part of the PM Toolkit, we do add this project billing rate that I showed you during the billing rate update feature at the start of this. When we do resource assignment, we go ahead and leverage that project billing rate or the project task billing rate. So if you've set those up, when you add new resources, we will automatically set that rate based on that field. All right, so either that project billing rate or that project task billing rate. I will also add that if you add a new resource manually as well, we will go ahead and take advantage of those rates and automatically populate that for you as well. So we try to make this super easy for you. So if I come over here, you can see that I've added that rate in automatically based on that project billing rate. All right, so Again, trying to make it super easy for you to add new resources and start using them. All right, so the three features we've shown are the three features really around getting resources set up, getting your billing rates in correctly, all that kind of stuff. Now I want to switch over and show you some of the things around managing this and keeping track of issues with time entry and that type of stuff. So I'm going to show you some different searches that we have. All right. And the way you can see our searches, they're pretty easy. You just search for PM Toolkit and all of our searches will come up. All right, so let's show you the various ones. The first is what we call billable time mismatch. What this is looking for is a situation where a time entry is marked as billable, but the task is marked as non-billable, or vice versa. And you would say, in theory, that shouldn't happen, but it does happen. When people start moving tasks around and changing tasks and changing projects, it can happen. And what that can mean is you end up not billing a customer when you should, or billing a customer when you should not. All right, so this will come up. We can see on this, if I go to that record, it says this is not billable, but if I were to look at this task, it's the one we were working with just a little bit ago. We know that it's billable because I showed you that during those billing rates process, but we know that this is a billable task. All right, and so for some reason it got marked to be not billable on the time entry. All right, so that search, it's something I run at the end of our billing cycle when we are getting ready to do our billing. First thing I do is run this to say, let's see if anybody has an issue where something was marked as billable or not billable inappropriately. The next thing I search for, we have our time entry rate discrepancies. All right, so here's another thing just to make sure that we're billing right. This is looking for anything where the rate on the time entry does not match the rate on the task itself. Maybe you did do a billing rate update on the task, but you already had time entered that hadn't been billed yet, and you wanted to, so that didn't get updated. So this will help you look and see, hey, am I good with this? Now, I will add that, let's say, for example, if I go back to my test project, let's say that you don't want this project to be included for rate discrepancy checks, right? Maybe it's a project where you have a billing rate card and you rather than a blended rate, you've got a bunch of different rates. And so it's going to pop up all the time that there's rate discrepancies, but there's not. You can just check this box to say ignore, and we'll ignore it from the search. All right. Or if you want, you can say, okay, the whole project, I want to include it, but this particular task I want to ignore. You can ignore it at the task level too. So that way you can go ahead and, as you run these searches, you can say, I don't want something to keep coming up that I know is not an issue. So go ahead and mark either the project or any project task to ignore, and they won't appear on this search anymore. The third one that I use that we've included is our time entries with low rates. All right, so our time entries with low rates, this is looking for anybody that has a billable rate lower than we would have expected. And when we say what we would have expected, you set that. So in the PM Toolkit, I come into our configuration screen and I go into this reports. Here's the threshold you can set. And you can say, I only want to pick up things that have a rate, in this case, below $130 an hour. And this one pulled that up because it's $100. So it's a way to see, hey, did somebody fat finger something someplace? And instead of setting something up for $200 an hour, they set it up for $20 or something like that. You can catch it with this. All right, so that's the third search that I run before we do our billing. So I check for billable time mismatches. I check for rate discrepancies. I check for low rates. Once I get through those, I feel much better about going ahead and running our billing process. All right, now the last search that we've included is not for validating that people have entered their time rate, but something I just like to have available and I can run throughout our billing cycle to see what's the value of our on invoice time, right? So this is not looking for any fixed fees or anything like that. This is purely looking at time and materials, giving you a total on that. It includes all your unapproved time, so that's why it's pretty useful compared to some of the built-in stuff. So I can see how we're doing for the month, how we looking. I can see if, somebody's billed a crazy amount of hours for some project that I wouldn't have expected, so I can double check that before I get to the end. I get another check on the blended rate here that's being billed. So this is kind of taking the average when I take the different rates and the time here to see that. So I get a nice view so I can real time know how we're doing. All right, so we've given you ways to assign resources, update your billing rates, make sure things look right before you're doing your billing, checking how you're doing on value of your time throughout the month. Now I've got 2 other reports I want to show you. Then we'll go ahead and talk about the last couple features. All right, the 2 other reports I want to show you. One is the PM Toolkit time entry exception report. All right, now this, before I show it, I'll show you one other thing on the employee. It's very similar to the built-in report that NetSuite has for time entry exceptions. The only difference is with our PM Toolkit on the employee record, we've entered a field called must enter time. All right, and we've entered that to help us narrow down what appears in some of these reports. The reason we do that, we use NetSuite projects to track PTO and some other internal activity. And so everybody in the company uses that. But not everybody in the company works in professional services. I only care about the people in professional services when it comes to time entry exception reports or utilization reports or anything like that. So I can mark those people that enter time that I care about, that must enter time, that I'm going to track them, right? So I don't want to just pick up everybody that's a project resource, just those that want to enter time or that need to enter time. So by doing that, now I can go to our PM Toolkit time entry exception report. And just like the built-in one, like I said, it shows everything the same, right? You pick your time rate, it shows who's put in hours, who's missing hours, all that type of stuff. The only difference is we pre-filtered it so that the only people that show are those people marked as must enter time. So that way you're not getting a bunch of noise for admin staff, sales and marketing, all that type of stuff that, they don't have to enter in time. Maybe they're just entering time when they work on for PTO or internal projects. They're filtered automatically. And then the last report is our custom utilization report. Again, we build it off the one built in, but we filter it for this must enter time. And we've added a utilization goal on the employee. So that way, when you run the report, you can see how people are doing against goals. So let me show you what I mean by that. I come over to reports, Sage reports, and I come down into our utilization by employee report. Again, it's just like the one built in out of the box. All right. The only difference is it's filtered for just those people that must enter time. And we've added that utilization goal so that it's really easy to see how people are doing against their goal. Maybe different people, have a variety of goals, and it's hard to know just looking at how they're doing against goal. All right, so those are the 2 reports we've added, our version of the time entry exception report and our version of the utilization report. Right, now, since these fields are available on the employee record, if you ever want to do any of your own searches, analytic workbooks, anything like that, these fields are available for you, so you can use them for any type of filtering or anything you want to do. All right, that gets us now to our last 2 features that we want to show you. The first is for delegating time. All right, now I do want to be upfront around this. There's 2 ways that people do time approval. One is to allow supervisors or time approvers to approve, and one is to allow project managers to approve. Our feature for delegate time only handles supervisor approval overrides. And the reason for that is the only way we would be able to do this to do an override for the project manager, we would have to temporarily change the project manager on a project. And we certainly don't want to do that. So if you allow project managers to approve time, our delegate approval will not work for you, right? If you do time approval based on supervisors or time approvers on the employee record, then this feature works great for you, all right? So just that as a preface before we go into this. All right, so if we come over to look at this employee record, when it comes to time approval, there's two ways that you can set people, time approval for people. You can go ahead and set a time approver down at the bottom, or if you leave that blank, you can use the supervisor up above. All right, so I've set a time approver down here of Glenn Hoffman. All right, and one thing, I jumped ahead a little bit. I'll show you how we work with this, all right? I already went ahead and did this whole process because everything runs with a bunch of scripts that are scheduled scripts. So I didn't want you all to have to sit around and watch all this. So I'm gonna step you through how this works, but not show it in real time. All right, so let's show you the concept around delegate time approver. If I come into our employees, you can see that we have this PM delegate approver option. In the PM delegate approver option, this is where you set up time approver delegation. And you basically say, who's the employee that's going to be out? In this case, it's Jane Doe. All right. And when Jane Doe is out, who's going to cover for Jane? In this case, Glenn Hoffman. So Jane's going to be out. Glenn Hoffman's going to cover for Jane. And this is going to go from 12/11 to 12/12. All right, 2 days. Now, normally you probably aren't going to do a lot of delegation for 2 days. You might do it for 2 weeks, that type of thing. But that's what you're going to do. All right. What we do with that is we have scheduled scripts running behind the scenes. And so when 12/11 gets here, what we're going to do is find any employee who has Jane Doe as the time approver, and we're going to replace Jane Doe with Glenn Hoffman. And then once this ends on 12/13, we're going to have a script that says find anybody that ended and change it back from this person to the original person. All right, so that's all we do. We replace the time approver that's going to be out with the delegate. At the end of it, take the delegate, put it back to the employee. Right? So if we look at this, I haven't run it yet for today, so it's still showing. But what we can see, if we look at our system information notes, we will see on 12/11 that the system changed this to, I was playing around with it, but changed the time approver from Jane Doe to Glenn Hoffman. Now, to keep track of who the original was, we have this original time approver that we've added in PM Toolkit. So on the 11th, I changed the time approver to Glenn Hoffman, and we stored the fact that Jane Doe was the original approver. If I were to run our process for today, which normally runs automatically, it would go ahead and set time approver back to Jane Doe, and it would clear this. Now, you don't have to do that. It'll happen automatically, but that's the concept around our delegate time. Go ahead, set up your time delegation list. You can either do this yourself, have HR have access, have somebody in accounting have access, or let employees do this themselves, however you want to do it. But set up these time off entries effectively when people are going to do delegation, and then we'll take care of the rest. We will flip that time approver over to the delegate, and at the end, we will flip it back. All right, so pretty straightforward, works really well if you're using time approvers or supervisors. As I mentioned, if you're doing PM time approval, we can't do anything with that. All right, very last feature. For those of you that might be using NetSuite RevRec and using project percent complete, if we take a look at a project set up that way, I have a project set up to use RevRec, all right? And if I take a look at that project, like I said, a lot of our clients do not like to use NetSuite's calculation for percent complete. Maybe not everybody's put their time in, in a timely manner. Maybe there's some other things not being taken into account. Whatever the case might be, they like to put in their own percent complete overrides. So you can see in October, there was a 25% marked as 25% complete. And NetSuite will then use that for RevRec calculations. Now we get to November, I could go ahead and edit this if I want and put in a new entry, but if I have 200 projects, going through those one by one is not very feasible and entering those all in, all right? And NetSuite, as I mentioned at the top, does not have a way to directly import those in, all right? So we've gone ahead and created a custom record just to allow this to happen. Basically, you can import into that custom record, and then we will have a script that will do the updates based off of that. So the way you start is we've got a saved search called project percent complete CSV template. It will pull up all your active projects. And again, this is a saved search. You can modify it so you can filter it to only pull those projects you care about. All right. So right now it's picking up all active projects, but maybe there's only a handful you care. Just do this, drop it out to Excel. All right. When you drop it out to Excel, that then gives you the ability to go ahead and do any edits you need to do it. Now for edits, all we care about really is the percent complete, the date, and the comments. That's all we're using when we do the import. All right. So let me show you an export that I did with this. All right. I exported them all out. I deleted all the lines except for one, just for the one I want to show you, which is the project we're looking at. And all I did is I set the date to November 30th, sent the percent complete to 50, and I put a comment, updated per GH. Okay, so this picture, this search dropped out, and somebody's responsible for updating the date, the percent complete, and if they want to add comments. That's all I did. All right, then you can go ahead and import that in. Okay, so if I come into the saved import that we have, here's my PM Toolkit project percent complete. So it's all set up for you. You don't have to worry about doing anything special. Just take that spreadsheet that you dropped out there. All right. We've already told it that you're going to do an ad. We've already pre-mapped your fields for you. You're all set to go. Just bring that over, click next a few times and run it. Once you run that, it went ahead and ran. We've imported into our record. If I now, and that will automatically then go ahead and process the script and run this. So if I refresh now, go over to financial and come down here, you can see we brought it in for you. So we brought in that record, November, we set the percent complete to 50, and we brought in my comment. So that all kind of automatically happens behind the scenes. All right, so just import that spreadsheet. We'll update all your percent completes. All right, that's all the features that I wanted to show you. It's a nice, good list to help you manage things. I did want to mention that there was one feature that we wanted to sneak in for our initial release here for NetSuite version 23.2. It didn't make it, but it's going to be in 24.1. So once that's ready, we'll have that to show as well. But it is a new project profitability report. I don't know about you, we're not fans of the built-in one. We think it's complex. We don't think it includes the stuff we want. So we're going to have a nice project profitability report added to 24.1. All right, that's what we wanted to show you today. Again, hopefully this resonated with some of you. We'd love to have you be one of our early adopters and get this out there and start using it and help us shape the future of this.
Thank you, Glenn, and thank you all for joining us today. Please reach out to us if you have any remaining questions. We look forward to seeing you all in the new year. Thank you.